Hello everybody, it's Rob Does Everything here, and today we're talking about the risk of severe weather and possibly some tornadoes tomorrow across most of the deep south into Tennessee, parts of Kentucky. And real quickly, I just wanted to shout out thank you to everybody who liked, subscribed, who viewed the channel within the last month. You guys seem to really like the weather content, and I love bringing it to you guys. So if you've been enjoying it, please leave a like and subscribe, as I'm gonna keep uploading it, and every single view counts for a small channel like mine. So let's go ahead and get right into the weather now. Now we're looking at the day 2 risk. Looks like we did have one tornado that went through Mississippi earlier, unconfirmed, but it looked like there was a possible tornado that went through, I believe, Centerville, Mississippi. And we're looking at a pretty broad marginal and slight risk with a very large 2 and 5% risk for tornadoes. Now, most of this is conditioned on storms actually being able to fire, which is something that is a little bit uncertain right now. Obviously, the wind profiles and everything favor supercells, but you know, we could have limited storm development. And obviously, if there's not storms, there's not going to be severe weather or tornadoes. Let's go ahead and hop over here to the models. Now, one of our limiting factors is usually in the deep south, you have a very high cape, high dew point environment. You got a lot of instability, but that's usually in the spring. And we are in December, just about to be going into January. And a lot of the cape that we have here is less than 1,000. This is at 21Z, so at about I believe 3 p.m. across Mississippi, Louisiana. Southern Mississippi is where a lot of that cape is going to be located. And what cape is the convective available potential energy. So basically, this is the available energy for storms to form off of. And obviously, if you don't have a ton of energy for those storms to form, you do have the chance that limited storm coverage could happen. And if there's no storms, again, there's no severe threat. So this is one of our limiting factors. We'll go ahead and scroll through as we get later into the afternoon, into the evening, and we see that the cape values push mainly into Alabama, even some of the higher 1,000 cape values pushing up into Tennessee as the time goes on. But for the most part, I think we're looking at a Mississippi, probably central northern Mississippi, just this whole range right here, looking for the possibility of some of the southern cells firing off of the initial round of storms, or some possible supercells firing on the confluence that will form out ahead of the front of cell. But we'll skip forward here and look at the dew points, and you can see dew points into the mid 60s all the way up to the middle of Tennessee. Now Tennessee, you're not completely out of the woods. I just want you to know that Tennessee, you're not completely out of the severe chances, because you've got mid 60s dew points here. And even though you can see you really don't have much of that cape, that, I mean, you still have pockets of 500. Even some of the southern tips are getting near 1,000 cape. So obviously we're looking at the chance of some severe weather even up into Tennessee. So you guys need to be careful. You're probably going to have more of a linear, large convective system go through, but you're still going to need to be on the lookout. Next thing we're going to look at, this is the lower level jet. So the 850 millibar. This is the lowest, I think about 6,000 feet in the atmosphere, if I remember correctly. And this is again at 21Z. So all of these runs are from the HRRR, the very short range model. And all of these runs are very, this is the short term kind of high resolution models. So here we are again, we're looking at 3 o'clock. On all of these models have been 3 o'clock. And this is the low level jet. So this is that wind shear, that veering that is going through the atmosphere, and you can see the low level jet spreads mainly again over Mississippi, and you're noticing a theme. You have the dew points, the cape, and the shear across Mississippi, all of it happening at this time. All you really need is storms to fire, in this area. And we'll go ahead and take a look at the photograph, and we're probably going to have a pretty mildly favorable photograph for tornadoes. That's not perfect by any means, but it's still capable. SRH, storm relative helicity, so again the turn in the atmosphere levels in the hundreds, is good enough to support a tornado, maybe even a strong tornado if the conditions, you know, are ripe. So lastly, we'll go to the convective allowing models. Again, this is the HRRR. Again, we're looking at 3 p.m. and here we can see some storms firing up in northern Mississippi, Tennessee. These are the storms that you guys need to be worried about. This is going to be more of a complex of storms for Tennessee, but the southern edge of that complex is where you could have a little bit more supercellular shape, a little bit more of the bean shape to some of these, as you'd call it. And then later on through the night, you get some of the later cells that fire mid-Mississippi into Alabama, and then kind of the risk has moved on at this point. We're well into the AM hours at this point, and now we're on to the next day. Now, this by no means is a slam dunk home run type of setup. We're looking at, like I said, a slight risk, which is a 5% for tornadoes. It's nothing that looks too amazing, but sometimes you get a gut feeling that, like, you know what, tomorrow is probably going to perform pretty well. And I sort of have that gut feeling where I feel like tomorrow might surprise people and actually perform really well. We're not going to focus too much about the January 1st, December 31st risk. We're gonna go ahead and talk about it real quickly though. We'll just brush over it. So basically what it looks like is happening is the initial expectation was that the trough would pick up the closed low off of the Pacific, like off of California. And if we go here and we look at the upper level, the 850, or whoops, 500 millibar, got myself a little screwed up there. And we go ahead and we run through this, we can see, so we see that closed low develop, and we see the trough starting to come down through California. Now, as this ejects, you notice the trough and that low are kind of separate events now. So what's going to end up happening is we're going to end up getting severe weather coming off of that initial closed low. It'll kind of be like the first system that'll move through. And then after that is whenever we are going to see the second round of severe weather, which is coming later on. So that's why the Storm Prediction Center has added a day 4 risk through Arkansas into Tennessee and a day 5 risk for a much larger area, is because those two systems look like they are going to come through separately rather than as one unit. Now, if they came through as one unit, we would be talking about probably a pretty serious outbreak, but the fact that they're coming through at 2 separate times hints at maybe we're going to have just 2 days of active severe weather and maybe a little bit less on kind of the widespread outbreak expectation. But still, we need to be aware of this. Obviously, this is a pretty broad 15% on the day 5. So we still need to pay attention, and I'll keep updating you guys. Again, I'll remind you guys, leave a like and subscribe. If you're interested in this, I'm going to keep posting updates. And I think that just about wraps it up for us. So again, thank you so much. I hope to see you guys on the next one, and make sure you stay safe out there. Peace out, guys.